Hi, everyone. Welcome to Wine.com Experiences. I'm Gwendolyn Osborne, thrilled to have you here to join us today as we are talking and tasting Intercept wines with the one and only sports legend Charles Woodson, as well as the incredible hand behind these wines, winemaker Amanda Gorder. If you purchase the wines ahead of time beforehand, great. Please go ahead and open those bottles. Make sure you get them each into some glassware. If you don't have the wines, that's okay. This trio is still available on Wine.com. And of course, our video will live on our YouTube channel after today. So the three Intercept wines we are tasting in order are the Chardonnay, the Pinot Noir, and the Cabernet Sauvignon. So I'm really excited to introduce our guests because, again, we are talking to a sports legend, tasting his wine, and an esteemed winemaker who makes these wines. So please welcome football star Charles Woodson and winemaker Amanda Gorder. Hello.
How you doing?
Great. Okay, first, Charles, I must say, I just figured like I don't have enough time to go through all the accolades that you have earned in your career. I feel like that would take the whole show, but the good thing is I'm able to sum it up by saying like being elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame 2 weeks ago, I'd say would cover like your accolades.
That covers everything.
That covers that. Congratulations. It's your first year of eligibility. You know, you've done so much. Everybody I talk to always reminds me, he's the only Heisman winner that was a defensive player. I'm like, I know. So well done. Very impressive. A great career. You just well respected and obviously well deserved. And I am just tickled to be talking to a Hall of Famer. So that's wonderful. So welcome. Thank you for being here and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for having myself, Amanda, and Intercept Wines as part of the show. We really appreciate it.
Fantastic. And Amanda, welcome to you. Cheers to you both. So glad you're here. For those of you at home, we are going to chat a bit about the story behind the wines. So if you feel like jumping in and tasting ahead of time and sipping while we chat, please feel free to do so. We will get to the tasting shortly. So Charles, we want to kind of start at the beginning of how you fell in love with wine.
Yeah, it's one of those things where very unexpected. I got drafted to Oakland in 1998, and Oakland's training camp was in Napa Valley. And I'd come into the NFL. I didn't know anything about Napa Valley, anything about wine country, and so I find myself staying at the Napa Valley Marriott, and I'm there for 2 to 3 weeks, every year. But when I initially got there, I was, of course, I would think like most people, I was kind of in awe of the surroundings, the rolling hills, the vineyards, the mountains. And, I was just trying to figure out like, where am I? I had heard about, all of the NFL training camps and how they went off and they were in, some small school in dorms. And I was in Napa Valley and I was just amazed and blew away by that. And as a result, I just kind of started, immersing myself into Napa Valley, into the food culture, and then also eventually into wine. It kind of happened naturally. So that's kind of the genesis and how it kind of got started for me, and getting into the wine.
Yeah, and then you're this, renowned athlete in Oakland, and then to Green Bay, and then back to Oakland. So when you decided to retire, what made you decide you wanted to enter the wine business with your own wine label?
Well, I started it while I was playing. That was the thing. Yeah. So I early in my career, me and my partner at the time, we made a single barrel of Merlot in 2001, and it was just going to be kind of like a hobby type deal. It was just going to be to give away to friends or maybe charity. We slapped a label on it. It was called 24. So that was kind of the first introduction into having my own wine and own label. And then we really started up in 2005. And then 2006 is our first vintage that we got from Calistoga. So I just continued that, throughout my career. Like you said, I left Oakland, went to Green Bay, and then came back to Oakland. And after I came back, or after I retired from Oakland the second time around, that's when I met Jeff O'Neill Vintners and his team. And then that's when we got into Intercept.
Yeah. And what was the connection there? What made you kind of think that, this is the partner that I want to make my wine?
I went through a process. I had a friend that I was talking to, and he said, "Hey, I heard that you're trying to, get into something that's a little bit, more in a more affordable range. My 24 was high end. It's retailed about, $85. And, a lot of my fans said, Charles, we love you. And they supported me. They did, man. They bought a lot of wine, but they said, hey, we love you, but you got to give us something, same quality. We still need quality, but we need something, a little more affordable. And so we took, a summary page from 3 different suppliers. And the first 2 gave me exactly what we asked for. They gave us a page summary. And then here comes O'Neill, and they absolutely, just blew it out of the water. They gave us more than what we asked for, but you could tell that they were really, thorough about their approach in approaching me and a potential partnership. And so I met with Jeff, I met with his team. We sat down and kind of talked about what a partnership would look like. And from there, man, we really jumped right into it.
Yeah, and Amanda, I want to bring you in at this point, because I know there are a good deal of celebrity wines out there. What stood out for in Charles' vision for a wine?
Yeah, so we sat around a table. Charles came out, visited, we tasted wines, and he had really clear ideas of what he was looking for stylistically and even in the winemaking process. So it didn't feel like cook me up some wine. It was like, let's work on this together. And it kind of started right there. We were working on some projects, kind of bouncing around some ideas, and he pointed us in the direction that he wanted to go. It was really streamlined.
Perfect. So Charles, let's talk a little bit about the name Intercept, because it's a nod to your career, correct?
Yeah, it kind of flows naturally, you think?
I do. I love it as a name.
Yeah. So, during the process of meeting O'Neill, like I said, after we met and, we decided that we were going to do this. And when I say we really hit the ground running, we really hit the ground running. We started working on, labeling, what the bottle would look like. Of course, we sat down with Amanda, or I sat down with Amanda, like she said, and we started talking about what we wanted in the bottle. And so then I threw out a few different names that I thought, really would identify me, to the wine if you saw the bottle and you knew that this was, a Charles Woodson wine. So I came up with a few, but Intercept was the one that stuck. And when you think about, like you said, when you think about my career, think about the fact that I had, 65 interceptions, which is 5th most in the NFL history. Intercept just flowed. And so I thought the team loved it. I loved it. And once we found out that, you go through your process of making sure you can use it, Intercept was it, man. So we were very thrilled about that.
Oh, great. I love it. I love the wine. I think it works so well. I want to start tasting, but I also want to touch on just the label, because from what I know, you didn't play for any teams with the word lion in it. So
no, I didn't.
It's a beautiful label. So tell us a little bit about that idea.
Yeah, so I didn't play for the Lions. I never played for a team, that was a lion. So the lion just comes from my affinity for the lion. A guy who likes to sit down and watch, National Geographic or Animal Channel and those sorts of things. I've always gravitated towards the lion. I like everything about it, king of the jungle, majestic. And the one thing that I love about lions is that they run around in prides. They're not, solitary animals. They fend for each other. And that's kind of what I wanted to convey, into my bottle, because when I first got into wine, the one thing that drew me to it was when you go to Napa and you go to different restaurants and you watch people who are huddled around a wine bottle, that's a family. The wine was the centerpiece to people coming together. And I thought that lion symbolizes that as well. And, if you look at the lion on the bottle, it's in motion, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to be in motion to stay alive. If you're a lion and you're in that pride, and in order to eat, you got to hunt, so I want that label to actually sit on the shelf, but actually be in motion. And when you walk by, I want that lion to hunt you. I want you to know, I want you to ask about that lion. So that's kind of where that came from. And again, our team, our creative team, they kind of took ideas from me. They looked at different interviews that I had done. One interview, I have a lion tattooed on the back of my arm. They saw that. And when they kind of went through different labels that they had created, they sent me 5. This was the first label I saw. And I went through the other ones because you got to, you got to go through the process, but I knew that was it. And they hit it head on. So very, very happy about the way the label came out. And I think the label matches what's inside the bottle. So that's what's most important.
Yes, absolutely. That's great. I often think of, we think of this majestic lion, but lions are team players in their pride.
They are.
That is a great connection. I didn't think of that. I love that.
There it is. That's why we call it the lion pride, baby.
There you go. There you go. All right.
Yes,
so
indeed.
Let us start tasting. We are starting with the Chardonnay. So Charles, when you thought of going in and making a Chardonnay, what kind of style did you envision?
Yeah, so I drank Chardonnay through my time in when I was with the Raiders, and a lot of times, when you drink a Chardonnay, when I was drinking Chardonnay, was heavily oaked. Really, really heavy oak Chardonnay, or overly buttery Chardonnay. And so I'm Libra, so I feel like in that sense, I like to have balanced wine. Whatever it is in my life, I like it to be balanced. So between having a buttery feel, texture, or the acidity or the fruit, I need everything to be working together. And I think Amanda hit it on the head with this Chardonnay. Of course, it's a beautiful color, clean, crisp Chardonnay. We age it 6 months surly, which means we keep it on its lees. So the fermentation process, you have the yeast eating the sugar, and then, the dead yeast cells from that fermentation process, we keep the wine on that. So we're able to draw some of the flavor, from the dead yeast cells as well. So this one here, for me, I get like stone fruit flavors. I get like kind of like a nectarine type of feel, with this wine. And so when you taste it, if you push your tongue to the top of your mouth, you kind of get that little bit of hint of that buttery feel, to the wine, right? So I think it's just well balanced. I think with the acidity, that kind of that mouth-watering feel that you get, from wine when you taste it. This is perfect, especially down here in Florida now. We're already starting to warm back up.
Yeah.
The Chardonnay is perfect, for those warm temperatures.
Absolutely. So, and Amanda, so these grapes are coming from, and I think this and the Pinot are coming from Monterey, correct?
Yeah. So this is actually single vineyard from Arroyo Seco.
Okay.
As we're starting to grow and create this brand, it's kind of fun to go find new vineyards and continue with this style. We found a great spot in 2019, and it's 100% barrel fermented and then 100% malolactic. Kind of builds that texture while we age slowly. And yeah, it's just a pure expression of Monterey Chardonnay that's not overly being pulled in any direction. I think it makes it a really good fit for the brand.
Yeah, and you said
it. And also, I was going to say also what I like is, for me, I like medium to full bodied wine, and I feel like we'll talk about later about the Pinot and the Cabernet, but I feel like the percentage of new oak that Amanda uses is really what kind of gives our wines the backbone of what it is. So you get the fermentation, in those barrels, which it can, draw some of that tannin, from the barrel and give it some structure. And so for me, that's what I love about it, because it has structure. It has everything you would want in a Chardonnay, but the balance is key for me.
Yeah, balance is so key in Chardonnay. You want that great acidity, but you also want that weight, that kind of texture that you're getting. So, and he mentioned new oak. So what percentage of new oak do you use for this?
We're at 25% new, and we use an Eastern European oak and French oak mix.
Oh, good. Okay, so a lot of diversity coming in to the wine. I think it's beautiful. Again, balance is key, to most of life, actually, but you get that
absolutely
that great acidity and that wonderful texture. So, thank you for sharing. And where would you pair this with food? Would you pair it with sitting by the pool? What's your top?
Yeah, I think you're going to find all of our wines can be full or food wines. So last night, I had sushi from a place that we ordered from around my house that had some lobster and also snow crab on it. So goes well with seafood. I love a nice little summer salad. Maybe you put a little couple of oranges on there, maybe some little crab meat. I think that pairs perfectly. But one thing that I do down here in Florida, and maybe some people can adopt, now I have no problem when I get in my golf cart, and it's 90 degrees down here. I put some ice in my cooler. I throw the Chardonnay in the back, and hey, I can sip during my day on the golf course. What better way to golf than to have a bottle of Intercept Chardonnay in your cooler?
Absolutely. Amanda, do you have any favorite foods?
Ooh, sushi, definitely. Salmon, kind of roasted salmon, I think can pair really well with Chardonnay.
Yeah. I would love this with crab cakes. I think it's because I had one and it's just kind of in the front of my head, but I love the idea of this with that. Because again, that acidity and texture, it's perfect. Well, beautiful. I'm kind of a Chardonnay snob, but I really love this Chardonnay. So
Good.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
Well, that's good when a host likes the wine, so we appreciate it.
All right, so we're moving on to Pinot Noir. And Charles, give us kind of an idea of, your vision for Pinot, the style you're aiming for.
So, the Pinot is probably when my fans were talking about, me doing, another label, Pinot came up the most out of all the conversations that I had. Hey, Charles, you got to come out with a Pinot. So, I got to say, I'm very excited about our Pinot because, our first one out of the gate, we got 92 points in the wine enthusiast. So, clap to Amanda for an amazing job. And so for me, again, throughout my time of drinking, different wine, Pinot was one that I've tried throughout my, my time when I was in Napa Valley. And usually Pinots for me were just a little too light. They kind of just pass through with not a whole lot to hold on to. So again, I told you I like, medium to full bodied wines. And this Pinot also offers that. Again, full wine. This Pinot is perfect with if you want to have, I had the Pinot with Thanksgiving dinner, had a little roast turkey with this, and it holds up. And again, let's go back to the amount of new oak that we use. So in all of our reds, we use 30% new oak. So you get, you're able to pull the tannin from the barrel. We age it for 14 months in the barrel. So it has some time to sit there and kind of gain some of that tannin and that characteristic, from the barrel. So this Pinot has some backbone. So when you taste, but very fruit forward. Again, let's go back to balance. The oak is not going to overpower the fruit, right? And you're going to have that balance between the tannin and the fruit. And then very, very, very juicy, like mouthful. And I think the best part about it is that, again, when I talk about previous Pinots that I tasted, it kind of just passes through. This one ain't going to let you go so easily. Yeah. So it's going to it's going to hold on, and you're going to get that nice finish, but you can savor it, and that's what I love about this Pinot. So I'm a Pinot fan now.
Yeah.
So great job, Amanda.
Yeah.
On an outstanding Pinot.
So, and Amanda, the grapes also come from Monterey for this wine, correct?
Yes, also from Monterey, predominantly from Santa Lucia Highlands. We have this really cool spot that's got this big hill. And when Charles says, I don't want very plain or very elegant Pinot, right? We want balance, we want fruit forward, but we don't want to forget about it. The idea there is you need some hillside, you need to incorporate some big concentration in the fruit. And so vineyard selection is really important with Pinot. It's probably the one I'm the most particular about. And so to be able to achieve this style and then be consistent year after year, I think finding the right spots in Monterey are key.
Yeah, it's a finicky grape. You gotta the right spot at the right time to get it well. So this is the fuller bodied Pinot Noir. I mean, there is kind of a spectrum of Pinot Noir. So for this wine, what kind of either foods or situations would you drink this in?
Yeah, well, I mentioned Thanksgiving dinner and having roast turkey at Thanksgiving, but just one meal that sticks out in my mind, and I was actually with Amanda out in Paso, and we went out to dinner, and I'd never had we had a ribeye, and the restaurant we were at, they had our Pinot there, so we paired the ribeye with this Pinot Noir, and it was unbelievable because you got that, that marbleization from the ribeye, but then with the juiciness of that Pinot, it was like it was harmony, if I could use that word and not seem too soft. So it was, that pairing to me, man, like really, that really solidified my love for this particular Pinot, this Intercept Pinot, and what Amanda has done. So if you get a chance, anybody who has the Pinot, or if you drink it all tonight, go get another bottle, go get you a ribeye. I don't know if you can prepare it, or go to your favorite restaurant and try the Pinot Noir with a nice ribeye. And please tell me how you feel about it. You can hit me at Charles Woodson and let me know. I believe in it. So
perfect. Yes, yeah. Usually cab with ribeye, but sometimes I always say that. Well, actually, my old mentor always, when she would talk about that with food pairing, she'd be like, usually 1 + 1 = 2. Unfortunately, sometimes 1 + 1 = 0, but there are these times that 1 + 1 = 3, and you're like, oh, so
right.
That seems to be what you're.
That was it.
So
that was it.
It was
so,
amazing steak.
What?
It was pretty great pairing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And so I was going to save this for later, but I feel like I need to ask now. So I was going to ask, how involved are you in the winemaking and choice process and everything, and just your knowledge of what you're doing with the wines, from the aging, the growing, seems to be very high level. So how involved are you in the vineyards, in the process, and then also maybe touch on like how this year has been made it more difficult to do that?
Yeah, well, when it comes to the winemaking process, I really stay in my lane, and I always make that clear to people. Amanda is the expert on winemaking, but I give my opinion, of course, on what I like, what I don't like, as far as the direction, I want it to go. But as far as making sure what's in that bottle is going to be on point, then Amanda, of course, is the key. I was out there, during a couple of days during harvest this year. So I was out there, I was able to, walk the vineyards with Amanda, kind of learn, different things about the vineyards and the places where we get Intercept grapes from. I have to say this, one tidbit I learned from her is that, when it gets hot and those grapes turn into raisins, you can actually revive those grapes, with some water. I had no clue. I thought once they turned to raisins, they were gone. So that was great to, be out there and spend time with her. 2020 was tough for everybody, in terms of really trying to get together and do all of the things that we wanted to do. But we found a window during harvest where I could go out there. The winery was open to having a visitor, if you could call me a visitor in that sense, to spend some time out there in Paso, and just a great time, just spending time with her, picking her brain, and just going over Intercept and the vision and the kind of where we want to go.
Yeah. Amanda, maybe I'll let you touch on that, but it seems like that's a great partner to have a vision, but also to let you make suggestions, right?
Yeah. And I mean, it's great to I ended up pulling verticals of everything we had in barrels. So he had an idea of like what was coming up. And so it's a great chance to kind of like say like, hey, like this is the direction we're going, like super excited about these upcoming vintages, and like tell me now if something isn't what you were imagining. And we're really excited about like future vintages of Intercept, and so is Charles. So it's definitely it was great to check in.
Good symbiotic relationship. So this Pinot is great. It is that wonderful full bodied. The next wine we have is the Cabernet Sauvignon. And Charles, your love of wine started in Napa, like Cabernet, Central. So what do you love about Cabernet Sauvignon?
Well, like I always tell people, Cab is king, and when you think about the Cabernet grape, it's resilient. When you mentioned the Pinot Noir grape earlier, and the Pinot Noir grape being, kind of finicky, it could be touch or go depending on, the year, the elements. But the Cab, is going to be pretty steady. It can withstand a lot. So that's the one characteristic I like about it, and I think that's why, the lion on the label and the grape, they are synonymous with each other. So the Cab is always, to me, always the most consistent varietal, I believe, that I taste. I mean, anywhere you go, if you go to a restaurant and you pick out certain varietals, Cab, for the most part, you're not going to be able to go wrong with a Cab. And so that's why, you got to have a strong Cab in your portfolio, to offer people. So we have that, in our Cab. It doesn't disappoint. Full bodied Cab. It is 18 months in the barrel, 30% new oak. Like I said, that's our reds. The Pinot, our red blend, which we're not tasting in our Cab. They're all 30%. But when you think about Cab, they're high tannin grapes, high acidity. And, a lot of times Cabernets are 50% new oak or 100% new oak. So they are loaded with those tannins. And so you have to lay that bottle down for, 5-10 years before those tannins ever soften up. This Cab is very approachable, very drinkable right now. And so again, I keep going back to the balance, with the fruit and the acidity, and then also I lost my train of thought, but it all works together, right? It all works together. And so great color, deep dark color on this. She uses different grapes from around the Paso Robles AVAs to go along with 89% Cabernet. That kind of rounds it out. But you get some Malbec, Petit Syrah, and these dark grapes that give it that deep, dense color. You get a little bit of deep dark chocolate on the nose. Those dark fruits, plums, currant. And then when you taste it, you can, the acidity right there just kind of holds right there in the bottom of your throat, right here. You feel it. I saw it hit you. So yep. There it is.
It's refreshing. I don't use this word for Cabernet very often, but it's almost perfumed. Like the amount of aromas coming out, usually use that for like a Pinot, but this is almost,
like a great, and it has like a little, initially when you open it and you smell it, you get a little peppery, a little spice on the nose. It's
pretty
beautiful. Yes. I'll take that. I like that.
All right. I love it. And Amanda, this comes from Paso Robles district. So what do you think Paso Robles, from the area and the soils and everything there, what does that give to Cabernet?
So our home, we make our wines in Paso Robles, and I have a lot of passion for Paso in this region. And this wine is actually sourced from 7 different districts. And so when you guys are talking about all of the different aromatics and everything that's coming out of the glass, you can really build complexity with diversity. Mm-hmm. And so we'll go north and we'll get big fruit, and we'll go south and we'll get kind of savory, very angular tannins. And then you get a lot of density to the west. And so we're able to jump around and then really layer a blend together that makes it approachable after 18 months of barrel age, but also still has good weight and structure. I think that's kind of the trick to the Cabernet, is to be really open to finding new fun vineyards throughout the season.
Yeah, and I just you just said build complexity through diversity.
Yeah,
and can we just make that a motto for like our country? Yeah. I love that. That's a really strong statement, both for wine and I think everything else in the world. That's great. But I do like, I love the big fruit aromatics and just the kind of easy drinking. But like you said, it has this great structure. So I've had the red blend, I've had the Pinot, I've had the Chardonnay. I hadn't had the Cab yet. So I'm thrilled. This is beautiful. So Charles, one of the biggest questions that came from people tuning in today was the connection you see between being a great football player and making great wine. So kind of how do these two passions, careers, how do those connect?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think the best way that I can explain it is that, if you take, myself, I played in the NFL a long time, 18 years. And it takes a long time in order for you to develop into being, the absolute best that you can be. You talked about the Hall of Fame earlier. It took years upon years of, consistency in the game and, being able to go out, make plays when they needed to be made, being somebody who could be relied upon week in and week out, year after year. There's a consistency there, and there's a work ethic that has to be there in order for you to make it that long. And in the wine business, it's no different. When you think about the many ups and downs that I've gone through in my career, Amanda has to go through all of those same ups and downs, depending on the season. Every season is not going to have the same amount of rainfall, same amount of sunshine. Bugs may, attack half of your crop. We know about the fires that happened really the last few years. And so there's things that you have to do to adjust to make sure that you still put out a consistent product. And that doesn't happen without hard work. So whether it's playing football, whether it's, winemaking, you got to be really in tune with what you're trying to get out of it. And you got to make sure that every year you're consistent at doing that. If you're not, then you won't last very long. So I think that's the reason why, Intercept has been accepted. And the reason why I think we'll be around for a long time is because we all, as a part of our team, we all put a lot into it. So we're going to make this thing work.
Awesome. Yes. Hard work, passion helps for longevity. So
that's right.
And I didn't ask about pairings for this because Cabernet is usually the king of pairing. So you already used your ribeye on the Pinot, so you got to go somewhere. All right. What's
So, the thing about pairing food is that, well, let me say, one of my favorite parts of, being in this business is the wine dinners that I'm a part of. The last several years, every year during the Super Bowl, we have an event called Culinary Kickoff. And I've been, hanging around with Michael Mina and Charlie Palmer, Adam Sobel, these great chefs, every year that put together these great dishes to go with your wine. And to me, it's really, unbelievable to see, their interpretation. And each chef, around the country, they're going to have their own interpretation of what type of herb, they put with the meal that they're making and, the garnishments and all of that stuff. So that part of the wine business, I absolutely love. But I would go with braised short rib. I think this Cabernet, certainly last wine dinner I had, the braised short rib was a part of it, and it, it holds up to the richness of that short rib. So I will go with the short rib with the Intercept Cabernet.
Excellent. I made my first short ribs last week, so I'm going to make it. So, Amanda, what about you?
A good burger off the grill with Cabernet, like just
if it's good meat, yeah, like the really good stuff. That is perfect. So, well, thank you for sharing the wines. Charles, the other thing I wanted to just touch on was what you're doing to give back, which I think is really important because you have the Charles Woodson and O'Neill Family Wine Scholarships. Your tagline on the site is Stronger Together, which, is fantastic. Can you tell us a little bit more about the mission of that program?
Yeah, well, the mission, really, I think is really near and dear to Jeff's heart. It's something that, he's been concerned about over the years, is getting more, African-American, indigenous people into the wine business. And I think the reason being is that I think a lot of, young African-Americans, they don't think of themselves as being able to get into the wine business. I don't think they think that there's really a place, in the wine world for them. And so I think this is kind of, an awareness factor to where here we have this scholarship where, if you want to go and study the wine business, winemaking, then, we'll pay for your room and board if you're really interested in doing that. So I think it was a great idea, by Jeff, and we talked and he said, Charles, hey, I want you to be a part of this. And I thought this was, a perfect opportunity for me to lend my name, my face, in the wine world, in that space, to young African-American and indigenous people who want to get into the wine business. And you just mentioned earlier about diversity. Let's make it diverse. We're stronger and better together, when we're all, at the table. And so this is an opportunity for, some young folks that look like me, who want to get into the wine business and learn more about it. And, one day have their own winery, have their own label, be a winemaker or do whatever they want to do, so I'm happy to be a part of it. Happy that Jeff asked me to be a part of it.
Great. I'm glad you're there because historically, yes, the wine industry has not always been as diverse as it should be, it could be. And so I think that's a wonderful way to start making that happen. So thank you. And I know you have your own foundation as well. So just give back all around. Thank you. Well, thank you both so much for being here. These wines are great. Again, I'm just going to go in like.
You're gonna run off with the Chardonnay, huh?
I love all the wines, but like I said, I'm kind of a Chardonnay fanatic, and this is really wowed me. So thank you. We appreciate your time, and again, congratulations on the Hall of Fame induction in August. May it be live, and may it be some sort of great celebration in Ohio, your home state. Oh, I have to say, go blue! Just from a bunch of people that signed up.
There we go.
I'm a Virginia grad, so.
Yeah.
But go blue. That's awesome. And
go blue.
Told me to say that. Again, if you weren't able to get the wines ahead of time, this trio is still available on Wine.com. And I also, if you loved these wines, please try the red blend because I have had that and it's fantastic. Great summer red for like the grill and everything like that too. So thank you, Charles, for this idea and this motion.
That's right.
Emotion for this wine. And Amanda, thank you for crafting such amazing wines. And thank you both for your time. It's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Gwendolyn. Thank you, Wine.com.
Yes.
Amanda, cheers to you for making great wine. And we're going to do this for years to come. So
years to come.
Salud.
Salud.
Cheers.
Cheers.
It's both a science and a form of high art. It's made from the combination of grapes, sunlight, rain, soil, and time. It's raised up in the moments that matter. It's wine. And we are Wine.com. We have the largest wine selection in the world, online sommeliers with free advice, and now our powerful new app puts the entire world of wine in your hands. Wine.com. Seriously passionate about wine. Download our free app today.